Hi, and welcome to Minsode Monday. This is Christy from Rub the Wrong Way podcast here, and I'm super excited that we have Mr. Aran Bright from Bright Health Training on the show. Now, in today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is the biopsychosocial model of treatment and care. Now, I feel like most massage therapists out there are going to say, that's a really big, complicated term. I don't understand it. But you already do it. So you just need to keep doing what you're doing, guys. We need to recognize the impact that we're having as massage therapists. We need to understand that things that we do and say are having a massive effect on our clients, and we need to keep it safe and keep it simple. I'm really excited to get into this episode, guys, so I hope that you enjoy it, and please welcome onto the show Mr. Aran Bright.
Minsode Monday on Rub the Wrong Way.
Hi, this is Aran Bright from Bright Health Training. Very excited to be joining you guys today on the Minisode Monday. Today we're going to be talking about pain science and the biopsychosocial model.
Thank you so much for joining us, Aran. It's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, you've said the massive word biopsychosocial, and I know that when we spoke earlier, or when we spoke last year on your long form episode, we sort of touched on and spoke about what the biopsychosocial model is all about. And what I wanted to do today in this Minisode Monday is talk about, just really get some clarity around what that term actually means and how it applies to massage therapists working in clinical practice.
Yeah, great. So I suppose maybe just a quick bit of background about that term to put it into a bit of context, because the term biopsychosocial really just came about as a way of looking at, and surprisingly enough, this really did come out of the research, and they just started to realize that when we look at somebody who's being affected by pain, you know, the factors that were identifiable in research were biological, not just biomechanical, but biological, psychological, and social. So at the end of the day, what we were seeing is that, funnily enough, the human beings that were being studied were exactly that. They were human beings, and they're multi-dimensional, you know, in a sense of different aspects of, you know, their life, and affects their pain experience. So when we're talking about working from a biopsychosocial framework, we're just really talking about respecting the fact that this is not just a mechanical machine. You know, it's not a car that is only ever affected by mechanics and how regularly you service it, but it has thoughts and feelings and emotions and context and life experiences, yes, and funnily enough, family members and friends and works and relationships, and all of these factors. You can literally plot, you know, stresses from someone's area of life, and then that will actually correlate to their pain. And there's been some really good studies that basically show that if somebody is in pain, if you just look at, say, an MRI of their spine, that's actually a really poor indicator of whether or not that person will have pain. There are some particular injuries, you know, that do correlate really highly, but that group of injuries are actually often very small and only occur in a very, very small percentage of the population. But if we look at someone's MRI and we also sit down and talk to them about psychologically how they're feeling, and then socially what's going on in their life, we can actually be very predictive of this person being in pain or not. So in summary, it's kind of like, if we just look at one dimension, be it psychological, biomechanical, whatever, it's very hard to tell whether this person actually is going to have pain or recover from pain. But if we look across a broad spectrum of the person, we actually get a really good picture, and we can actually be highly predictive of whether or not that person has pain.
So I feel like massage therapists are in a really unique position to kind of enact this sort of model. Am I right there? Like, we sort of sit in a really unique space of being able to have conversations about people's lives and understanding their psychology a little bit, of course staying within scope of practice.
Yeah.
But we're also able to look at them biomechanically and look at those indicators. So our massage therapists are really, we're in a good space to be able to work with this model. So why do we get so sort of confused about what it's about?
Yeah. Look, it's a very confusing topic initially, because you're not saying, this is really straightforward and simple. And if I look at someone's pelvic position, I know whether or not they're going to have pain. What you're now saying is that their pelvic position probably doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. We now need to consider a whole bunch of different factors. So that makes it really complex, you know.
It is really complex.
It is really complex, and people are complex, and that's kind of the whole point. But what you're talking about is that, you know, as a massage therapist, on average, we spend an hour with a person. There's not many healthcare practitioners out there that spend an hour with a person, and there's not many healthcare practitioners out there that get so close to somebody. I mean, you're spending maybe close to an hour touching someone. You are well and truly in their space. You are very, very physically close to them. And look, during that time, you're going to talk. You're two humans. You're going to talk. You're going to talk about stuff, you know. And so you're going to talk about psychological factors. You're going to talk about social factors. You're going to talk about biological, biomechanical. And so, yeah, as a massage therapist, we are actually really well positioned. I think we need to just first of all recognize that, realize we're in this very close relationship with our clients in a professional sense, and we are going to be working with them in all these different dimensions. And I think that's the first point, is just to recognize that what we say, what we talk about is going to have an impact on the client and their pain, and there is no way of avoiding that. So we can't just think of them as a mechanical lump of meat, and it doesn't matter what I say to this person, as long as I stretch their hamstrings, that's all that matters, because that is just not the way humans are. Okay, so yeah, I think if we just start to realize, you know, what a person is, and how we interact with them as massage therapists, I think that's really the first step with understanding, you know, a biopsychosocial, or just a pain science perspective, if you like.
So when I'm working with a client, how do I recognize that this is what I'm doing with them, and how do I kind of, I guess, how do I get that to my clients? How do I tell them that this is more than just me pounding your meat?
That's a really good question, but I think it's just validating, you know, what people think and feel, and you know, if we keep this really simple and sort of pare it back a bit, and I hope this kind of answers your question, but one of the simple things is that anything you do or say to a client is going to have an effect. You can't not have an effect on them. So as long as we almost don't need to say, oh look, all of this other stuff matters in some respects. Maybe sometimes we do need to say that, you know, your work stress is impacting your back pain, and maybe we do need to say to people sometimes that, you know, we know from research, we know from groups like WorkCover, when WorkCover looks at someone with lower back pain, there's a very common questionnaire that they'll give them, and it's interesting. The questionnaire has about 30 questions. About 6 or 7 of them actually relate to their injury and how bad it is. The rest is all about, how do you feel about your back pain? How do you feel? Do you think you're going to recover? How do you feel about work? Are you worried about work? Are you going to go back to work? So it's actually very well known and recognized that all of these factors come into play. So when we're working with someone as a massage therapist, you know, sometimes maybe we do need to say to them, it matters, you know, how you feel about your pain. It matters how you feel about your life. And that's going to impact your pain. But then other times maybe we don't. Maybe other times we just need to work with our client. If someone comes in and they're like, oh man, I'm in a really bad way, my back really hurts, but mate, you know, it'll be fine. I'm sure, just give me a bit of a rub and I'll be back, and that's good. See, that's a positive mindset. They're not worried about their work. They're happy. They just went a bit too hard at the gym. So we say, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's really normal. You know, everything I see here looks completely normal. Yeah, you tore a muscle. Okay, it's normal to have pain. You will normally recover. Massage can help a little bit ease things, you know, make you a bit more comfortable. So if we're just recognizing, you know, sometimes there's psychological factors at play, encourage, support, make people feel confident and happy, that can be really valuable. And then maybe other times we do need to remind people that their mindset and their social stress is you know, a factor in what's going on here as well. So does that answer your question?
It does. It does. And I think what that leads into is, I feel like a lot of massage therapists, and myself included, we feel as though the work that we do is often quite at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak, when it comes to healthcare. When it sounds as though within the biopsychosocial model, that's a lot of words to say. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Within that model, we actually could be a really pivotal part of recovery and helping people move through their pain. So my question is, how, as massage therapists, people on the ground, how do we help other industry professionals see that what we do is valuable and really valid in that space?
Look, it's an interesting thing. How do we make other health professionals see what we do as valid?
Not so much
part of me
valid,
wants
more so valuable. I think that
valuable.
I
Sure.
don't think that the validity. I don't think anyone could potentially call the validity of massage into question. I mean, some people will try, but but I think it's the value that we put, and I think that it filters through. And I've had these conversations with so many other therapists about how they sort of feel like, oh, I don't feel like I'm valued by doctors or like, and you know, all those sorts of things. So that's, the validity of massage isn't in question. I think it's a great tool, but
sorry, go on.
But so like, how do you see the value? How do you see us being able to express the value of that within, you know, to other healthcare professionals that may not work within the same model that we do?
Look, if you're talking about having a conversation with someone else who's a health professional and they'd like to work from an evidence-based model, then present them with evidence would be my response to that. There are some, you know, there's a few ways you can go about that, and it might be something that you point, you know, if you're having a discussion with someone who's, say, a physio, and you only need to point to some of the physios who are talking about this biopsychosocial model, and people like a Lorimer Moseley or a David Butler are two great examples, and say, hey, jump on YouTube, look at some of their stuff, see where we're coming from. If you look at that, and you know, you then think about when a massage therapist spends a long time with a client, do you think, you know, they are going to be valuable in, you know, reinforcing positive messages and giving people a sense of, you know, positivity, hope, confidence in themselves? And I think it'd be pretty tough for someone to say no, a massage therapist would not be a valuable part in an overall plan. I have to say my personal experience is now that, honestly, you know, in most situations, be it a GP, a surgeon, a physio, a psychologist, they already see value in massage. I think there's maybe some groups that don't. I think where we see a lot of resistance might be those that are talking about massage as some sort of way of correcting biomechanical flaws, and but as soon as you're talking about actually in personal interaction, you know, support, you know, just basic, safe, non-addictive pain management, I think most professionals are on board. The only other very quick comment I'd like to make is, and part of me is like, I don't care what other health professionals think, because I really care about what the public thinks. And look, so I don't think this is published yet, but AMT, the Association of Massage Therapists, have been working on some surveys, and it was remarkable what they were saying in terms of what our clients think of us, and they really see us as basically trained to a university level, highly professional, highly knowledgeable, very, you know, well-informed practitioners. And so they put a huge amount of value on what we say as massage therapists, and I think we really need to recognize that what we say to people is really, really accepted and taken on board as a professional view. And so therefore we need to be very, very careful about what we say, and you know, promote positive messages, and be careful about saying things that might create fear or worry within our clients. And I'm just going off topic slightly, but we need to be very careful when we say to people, oh, your something or other is out, your something or other is rotated, you have a scoliosis, you have this or that, because for the person on the table, they have no idea what that means. Have absolutely no idea what that means. And so that can create a whole cycle of fear, which we now know can actually make pain worse. So we're much better off saying to people, someone says, I have a scoliosis. I've got this really bad scoliosis. I was born with it. I've got this really curved spine. We're better off saying to people, did you know that people with a scoliosis go to the Olympics? Find a way to put a positive spin on it. It's really normal. That's fine. Don't stress. Just because you got that doesn't mean really anything much other than you got a curvy spine. You can be strong, you can be fast, you can be powerful, you can be pain-free. Anyway, I hope that kind of answers the question.
It really does. And I think that, I guess we're all kind of guilty a little bit of sometimes as massage therapists facing the wrong way with what we think is valuable. So
I think you're spot on.
Yeah. So like you're really right in talking about how it doesn't even occur to me at times that clients will call me as the first line of defense for them when something happens, regardless of what that is, whether it's some kind of psychological neural problem. I have a client at the moment who's got a weird tremor in his hand because he's so stressed.
Sure.
And he calls me and says, I don't know why this is happening. And I'm like, you need to go and see a doctor.
Sure.
But and I think we're worried about what other professionals think of us when we should really be worried about, or we should be really proud of the fact that our clients see us as so professional.
Oh, look, we really need to focus on that point and respect that, because most of the time health professionals are not coming to us for help. We have clients coming to us for help, and we really need to just focus on them and what their needs are. And look, I think we can be really confident now that there's been a period of a bit of bashing towards natural health and whatnot, but there's just some good solid evidence. And look, it's not groundbreaking like massage cures every condition ever, but we now have some good, it's only small, but it's building evidence that says massage is good for pain management, a mild to moderate relief. It's not doesn't fix everything, but it does help, and it's very safe. And as massage therapists, people are therefore going to come to us for help. GPs are going to refer people to us for help. If someone walks in and a GP assesses them and says there's nothing life-threatening, you've got some pain, tight muscles, it's either going to be a physio or a massage therapist. And it appears to be these days that it's probably both. So in many ways we're there. We've made it. We're already in the system, in the loop. We're alongside everyone else, and we just maybe just don't need to worry about it so much.
I think that's such a positive note to end it on. I think we need to stop worrying about it so much and keep doing the great thing that we do, which is massage.
I think that's a really good point. Maybe the only other thing I would say too is just keep it simple and don't get too fancy. Try to keep the message very safe and simple to your clients, and just enjoy the time with the person that you're working with, and know that you're doing a good thing for them. So massage is good, okay?
Aran, where can everybody on the podcast connect with you?
Yeah, so our website is brighthealthtraining.com.au. We have a few courses available now, looking at things from self-care to some exercise strategies that you can use with clients, and also some communication strategies that you can use with clients. We hope to have more stuff up in the future, and there's even a few blogs there if you like to read a few blogs and try to break down some of the research and talk around some of the topics that we've talked about today. So they can certainly find us online if they want to know more.
And that's brighthealth.com.au.
Sorry, Bright Health Training. All one word.
There we go. Yep. See? brighthealthtraining.com.au.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks so much for your time today, Aran.
Thank you.
Thanks. I really hope you guys got some value out of that episode today. I think for me, probably the top takeaways were keep it safe and keep it simple. I feel as though sometimes we want to make massage more complicated, because if it's more complicated, then it seems like it'll be better for people. But sometimes simplicity is the key. So remember that keeping it simple is sometimes the best thing for you. As always, I would love your feedback on the episodes. Feel free to jump over to the Facebooks and click a like on the page, do a review. That would be awesome. If you are enjoying the show and you find that there's someone else out there who you think might also be getting some value out of the Minisode Monday episodes, feel free to jump into your podcast player of choice and click share and share the episode with them. I would also love it if you had an opportunity to rate and review and subscribe in iTunes. That would be also super amazing. I would love that. And if you would like to connect with me personally, you can connect with me on Facebook. I'm Christy Melling, and I'm happy to connect with you there. So this is another Minisode Monday wrapping up, and we will see you next Monday.